Ladies and gentlemen, perfection, it's a word we all secretly chase. We want our work to be flawless, our plans to be foolproof, and our ideas to be admired. But here's the truth: perfection is an illusion that traps progress. Fascinated, too often we wait for the perfect time, the perfect idea, the perfect plan. And while we wait, opportunity slips quietly away. Action creates clarity. A simple phrase, yet one that holds the power to transform how we approach life. Fascinated, work, and leadership. Too often, people get stuck waiting for clarity before they act. They want to know every outcome, predict every risk, and feel completely ready before they take a single step. But the truth is, fascinated clarity doesn't come before action. It is the result of action. Every great leader, innovator, and achiever has learned this through experience. They understood that movement, even imperfect movement, fascinated, reveals the path forward far more effectively than endless contemplation ever could. When we act, we engage with reality instead of imagination. Thinking about doing something and actually doing it are two entirely different experiences. I'm fascinated. Theories and plans can only take us so far. It's only when we apply them that we discover what truly works. Action gives feedback. It shows us where we're strong, where we're weak, and where we need to adjust. Fascinated. That's why the people who grow fastest aren't always the smartest or most talented. They're the ones who are willing to try, fail, and adapt in action. On the other hand, breeds confusion and self-doubt. Fascinated. The more we wait for the perfect time, the more we convince ourselves that we're not ready. Our minds fill with what ifs and maybes, and we end up trapped in our own hesitation. Perfectionism often disguises itself as preparation, but in reality, it's procrastination in a more respectable outfit. The moment you act, you cut through that fog of uncertainty. The path ahead may still be challenging. I'm fascinated, but at least you're moving forward. Think about learning to ride a bicycle. No amount of reading, observing, or planning can replace the experience of actually getting on the bike. You wobble, you fall, and you get back up. I'm fascinated. Each fall teaches balance. Each attempt builds confidence. And before long, the motion becomes second nature. The same principle applies to anything worth doing. You gain understanding not from waiting to be perfect. I'm fascinated, but from doing imperfectly and learning along the way. Action also builds momentum, and momentum builds confidence. The first step might feel awkward or uncertain, but it's the hardest part. Once you start, fascinated, even small wins begin to fuel your motivation. The human brain responds positively to progress, however small. Finishing a task, taking a risk, or achieving a goal releases energy that propels you forward. On the other hand, fascinated, waiting drains energy. The longer we delay, the heavier the task feels and the more distant our goals become. Great innovators throughout history didn't wait for flawless conditions. I'm fascinated. They started with what they had and refined as they went. The Wright brothers didn't wait for the perfect airplane design. They built, crashed, learned, and tried again. Fascinated. Thomas Edison didn't wait for the perfect light bulb. He conducted thousands of experiments until one worked. Their clarity came from doing, not dreaming. Each experiment, each setback, fascinated, and each small success revealed what to do next. When you act, even if it's messy, you move from thought to creation. You stop being a spectator of your own potential and start becoming the creator of your own results. Fascinated, the gap between where you are and where you want to be doesn't close through thinking harder. It closes through doing more. Clarity emerges step by step, mistake by mistake, decision by decision. Fascinated, the fog only lifts when you move through it. So action isn't, it's about discovery. It's about discovery. It's about trusting that progress reveals the answers perfectionism hides. The more you do, fascinated, the more you learn who you are, what you want, and how to get there. And in that process, you realize that clarity was never something to wait for. It was something to be earned through motion. I'm fascinated. Perfection is often celebrated as the highest standard, the mark of excellence that separates good from great. But in reality, perfection can become the very thing that prevents progress. Fascinated. When we become obsessed with getting everything exactly right, we freeze. We hesitate to begin because the image in our minds doesn't match the messy process of creation. Yet, fascinated, growth and innovation are never born out of flawless beginnings. They come from bold, imperfect action. Fascinated, perfection is the enemy of progress, reminds us that chasing flawless results too early stops us from ever achieving real success. Many people wait for the perfect moment to start, the perfect time, the perfect plan, fascinated, the perfect confidence. But perfection doesn't exist in the real world. It's an illusion created by fear. We polish and plan endlessly, convincing ourselves we're being careful. I'm fascinated when in truth we're avoiding the discomfort of being vulnerable. Behind perfectionism lies fear, the fear of failure, the fear of judgment, the fear that our best might not be good enough. That fear keeps us in place, fascinated, making excuses while time passes us by. Action feels risky, but inaction is what truly holds us back. Progress, on the other hand, embraces imperfection. It recognizes that mistakes are not proof of failure, they're proof of movement. Fascinated, every mistake made in action teaches us something we could never learn from theory. It reveals flaws in our strategy, weaknesses in our skills, and gaps in our understanding. And once we see those gaps, we can grow. Fascinated, you can't perfect something that doesn't exist yet. You can only improve what's been created. Progress requires stepping into uncertainty and trusting that what you learn will guide your next step. In creative work, business, fascinated, or personal growth, the first version is rarely perfect. Think about every great invention or successful project. The first iPhone wasn't flawless. It was revolutionary because it existed. It gave Apple something to improve. Fascinated. Every successful leader knows that perfection can wait, execution cannot. The Wright brothers didn't build the perfect airplane on their first try. They built something that flew, however imperfectly, and learned from every attempt. Fascinated, their progress came not from dreaming of the ideal machine, but from testing and refining the imperfect one in front of them. The pursuit of progress demands humility. It requires accepting that failure is part of the process. Fascinated, not the end of it. When you shift your focus from perfect to better, you free yourself from unrealistic expectations. You begin to value growth over image, substance over polish. Fascinated, true professionals don't fear flaws, they fix them. They understand that each imperfect effort brings them closer to mastery. Perfectionism seeks to protect our ego, progress seeks to strengthen our ability. Fascinated, the irony is that perfectionism often kills creativity. When we demand flawlessness, we stop experimenting, we stop taking risks, we choose safe, predictable paths that don't challenge us. Fascinated, but innovation requires experimentation, and experimentation requires error. It's in the imperfect attempts that breakthroughs happen. The people who create lasting impact aren't those who wait until everything is certain. Fascinated, they're the ones who dare to start before they're ready. They know progress means stepping into the unknown and learning by doing. Perfection is static. It locks us in place. Progress is dynamic. It moves us forward. Fascinated, when we act imperfectly, we build momentum, and momentum generates results. Even small actions compound over time, creating visible change. The moment you finish something, even if it's not perfect, fascinated, you create a foundation to build upon. Each completion teaches you something new, and those lessons accumulate into wisdom. You start seeing improvement not because you planned perfectly, but because you acted consistently. I'm fascinated. Letting go of perfection doesn't mean lowering your standards. It means shifting your priorities. It means valuing movement over delay, growth over illusion, learning over pride. Fascinated. It's about realizing that being great tomorrow starts with being imperfect today. The people who achieve remarkable things aren't those who waited until everything was perfect. Fascinated. They're the ones who dared to start messy and improve along the way. So while perfection might seem admirable, it's progress that builds empires, launches dreams, and transforms lives. Perfection waits, progress acts. Fascinated. And in the end, it's not the flawless plan that wins, it's the imperfect step that moves you forward. Courage over comfort is a principle that separates those who live with purpose from those who simply exist. Fascinated. Most people prefer the safety of comfort, the predictable, the familiar, the path of least resistance. Comfort feels good because it shields us from uncertainty and risk. But comfort is also where dreams quietly die. I'm fascinated. Growth only happens when we step into discomfort, when we challenge ourselves to face the unknown with courage. Choosing courage means choosing progress. Fascinated, because every meaningful achievement requires us to leave behind the ease of what we know. Courage is not the absence of fear, it's the decision to act despite fear. Too often, people wait for confidence before taking the first step. Fascinated, believing that once they feel ready, they'll finally begin. But confidence doesn't come first. Confidence is built through action, not before it. Every time you act courageously, fascinated, you prove to yourself that fear doesn't control you. That proof builds trust in your own ability to handle the next challenge. It's a cycle of growth that begins with a single brave decision. Comfort, on the other hand, fascinated, breeds stagnation. When we avoid discomfort, we avoid change. We stay in jobs we don't love, relationships that don't fulfill us, or routines that don't challenge us because they feel safe. Fascinated. But nothing new ever comes from staying safe. The most successful leaders, creators, and thinkers didn't rise to greatness by staying in comfort zones. They stepped into uncertainty, faced criticism, and took risks others avoided. Fascinated, courage was their defining difference. The moment you choose courage, you choose to grow. Growth is uncomfortable because it stretches you beyond your limits. It demands failure, humility, and patience. Fascinated, but that's what makes it valuable. When you challenge yourself to take risks, to speak up in a meeting, to start a project, to follow a dream, you invite discomfort, but you also invite possibility. Fascinated, every uncomfortable moment becomes a lesson in resilience. The more discomfort you face, the more adaptable you become. Leadership, in particular, demands courage. Leading means making decisions that may not please everyone. I'm fascinated, standing firm in your values, and sometimes walking alone. It means stepping forward even when the path isn't clear. Courageous leaders inspire others, not because they're fearless, but because they're willing to act while afraid. Fascinated, they show that progress requires vulnerability, and that strength lies in the willingness to fail publicly and rise again. People don't follow perfect leaders, they follow brave ones. Courage over comfort is also about authenticity. Fascinated, many people hide their true selves because they fear judgment or rejection. They conform to what's expected instead of expressing what's real. But real connection, real creativity, fascinated, and real leadership only emerge when we're brave enough to show up as we are. Vulnerability is not weakness, it's honesty. And honesty requires courage. When you have the courage to be authentic, I'm fascinated, you give others permission to do the same, creating trust and genuine connection. Every time you choose courage over comfort, you redefine your limits. You start seeing obstacles not as threats, I'm fascinated, but as opportunities to strengthen your character. Discomfort becomes a signal that you're growing, not failing. The things that once terrified you become the things that shape you. Fascinated, that's the power of courage. It transforms fear into fuel. It teaches you that you are capable of far more than you imagined when you were hiding in comfort. The truth is, comfort never leads to greatness. I'm fascinated. It offers peace for the moment, but regret in the long run. Courage, on the other hand, may hurt in the short term. It may make your heart race and your palms sweat, but it gives you pride, growth, and fulfillment. Fascinated. Life rewards those who take the risk to step forward, not those who stand still waiting for safety. The greatest rewards come not from the easy choices, but from the brave ones. So when faced with the choice between comfort and courage, I'm fascinated. Always choose courage, because comfort ends when courage begins, and that's where your true potential starts to unfold. Progress is iterative, not instant. Fascinated. This truth is often overlooked in a world obsessed with speed and perfection. We live in a culture that celebrates quick success, instant results, and overnight achievements. Fascinated, but real progress doesn't happen in a single leap. It happens through consistent effort, revision, and persistence. Every success story is built on layers of trial, error, and improvement. The process may not be glamorous, fascinated, but it's where the real transformation happens. Growth is a gradual climb, not a sudden jump, and each imperfect step forward brings us closer to excellence. When people chase instant perfection, they miss the beauty of the process. Fascinated. They expect their first attempt to be flawless and get discouraged when it isn't. But mastery is not born from immediate success. It's crafted through repetition. Think about how a sculptor works. I'm fascinated. They don't carve a masterpiece in one strike. They chip away slowly, refining and shaping with patience. Each movement, each small adjustment brings the sculpture closer to its final form. The same principle applies to life. I'm fascinated. Leadership and creativity, every version of your effort. Each done along the way is an essential layer in your evolution. Progress requires patience and humility. Fascinated. It's easy to become frustrated when results don't appear quickly. Many people give up because they mistake slow growth for failure, when in reality, slow growth is often the most sustainable kind. Fascinated. The lessons you learn through repetition and correction become part of your foundation. Every setback teaches resilience, every mistake teaches precision, and every attempt teaches awareness. These small lessons accumulated over time build the wisdom and strength that instant success could never provide. Iteration is not just about improvement, it's about discovery. Each time you act, you uncover something new. You find better methods, smarter strategies, fascinated and clear insights. The first attempt gives you direction, the second gives you refinement, the third gives you confidence. This process of doing reviewing and improving shapes not just your work, but also your mindset. Fascinated, you begin to value effort over outcome and growth over perfection. That mindset shift is what separates those who reach mastery from those who quit early. Consider how great inventions come to life. Fascinated, the first airplane didn't soar smoothly across the sky. It stumbled, wobbled, and crashed. The first light bulb didn't shine brightly on the first try. It failed thousands of times before working. Each failure was a lesson. Fascinated, each attempt a step forward. Thomas Edison famously said, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." That is the essence of iterative progress. Understanding that every failure is data, not defeat. Fascinated, in leadership and innovation, iteration builds trust and adaptability. Leaders who embrace progress as an ongoing process create environments where experimentation is safe and learning is constant. They encourage their teams to act. I'm fascinated, reflect, and improve instead of waiting for perfect solutions. This approach fosters creativity and resilience because people stop fearing mistakes and start seeing them as opportunities to grow. Fascinated, a culture of iteration turns uncertainty into innovation. Instant gratification, on the other hand, is fragile. It gives a temporary sense of accomplishment without the depth of understanding that true growth provides. I'm fascinated. When something comes easily, it's often taken for granted. But when progress is earned through repeated effort, it becomes part of who you are. You learn to respect the process, appreciate the struggle, fascinated, and take pride in every milestone, no matter how small. The greatest accomplishments in life are rarely the result of one big moment. They are the sum of countless small moments of persistence. Each draft written, fascinated, each mistake corrected, each attempt refined contributes to the final masterpiece. Progress is not linear. It's a cycle of doing, learning, and improving. Some days bring leaps forward, others bring setbacks. But both are necessary. I'm fascinated. Both are part of the journey. True growth takes time, and the people who understand this don't rush the process. They trust it. They know that every done, even if imperfect, is progress. Fascinated, each iteration is an investment in their future self. And when they finally reach their goal, they realize that the value wasn't just in the result, but in who they became along the way. Because progress, real progress, fascinated, is not about getting it right once, it's about getting better every time. Execution beats intention because ideas alone have no power until they are acted upon. The world is full of people with brilliant thoughts, creative plans, fascinated, and dreams of making a difference. But only a few turn those ideas into reality. Intention is the spark, execution is the fire. Without execution, even the most inspired vision fades into nothing more than a wish. Fascinated. It's easy to talk about what we want to do someday, but it takes discipline, courage, and consistency to actually do it. I'm fascinated. The difference between those who succeed and those who stay stuck is not the size of their dreams, it's their willingness to take action. Intentions are important because they shape direction and purpose. Fascinated, but they're only the beginning. You can plan for months, research for years, and wait for the perfect conditions, but none of it matters until you take the first step. Execution transforms vision into movement. Fascinated, and movement creates results. Many people confuse intention with progress. They believe that thinking deeply about something or planning carefully means they're getting closer to success. But thinking isn't doing. Fascinated, real progress only begins when you commit to execution, even if it's imperfect. Execution requires courage because it exposes your ideas to reality. Once you start, you open yourself up to criticism, failure, and unexpected challenges. Fascinated. That's why so many people stay in the safety of intention. They like the idea of success more than the risk of failure. But progress doesn't come from safety, it comes from doing. Every action, even a small one, creates clarity. Fascinated, you learn what works and what doesn't, and that feedback guides your next move. Fascinated. The most successful people aren't the ones who get everything right the first time. They're the ones who take consistent action and refine their path as they go. Fascinated. There's a powerful difference between saying, I will, and actually doing it. Intentions are easy to declare because they cost nothing. Execution, however, demands time, effort, and commitment. It tests your focus and endurance. Fascinated. You can't execute with excuses. You can only execute with energy. The discipline to follow through, especially when the excitement fades, is what separates dreamers from doers. Fascinated. Execution is the bridge between potential and performance, between inspiration and achievement. Leaders who prioritize execution know that results speak louder than words. They don't just inspire with ideas, they lead through action. Fascinated. They understand that strategy without implementation is meaningless. A brilliant plan that's never carried out contributes nothing, while an average plan executed well can create extraordinary results. Fascinated. Execution turns theoretical goals into tangible outcomes. It's what builds trust within teams and credibility within organizations. When people see action, they believe in leadership. When they see only promises, they lose faith. The beauty of execution is that it invites learning. Every attempt, whether successful or not, brings insight. You begin to understand the process more deeply, adapt to challenges, and find new ways to improve. Intentions, fascinated, no matter how noble, can't teach you this. Only action can. Even failure in execution is progress because it reveals truth about your strengths, your weaknesses, and your environment. Fascinated, those lessons become the building blocks of future success. The temptation to wait for perfect conditions will always exist. We tell ourselves we'll start when we have more time, more resources, or more confidence. Fascinated, but perfect conditions never come. Those who execute despite uncertainty learn to adapt, while those who wait remain stuck. Every great achievement in history started with an imperfect beginning. The courage to act, fascinate even without all the answers, is what drives innovation and growth. Execution also fuels momentum. Once you start doing, each action builds energy for the next. You move from hesitation to rhythm, from planning to producing. Fascinated, that rhythm becomes addictive. It gives you purpose, focus, and a sense of control. The more you execute, the more capable you feel, and that confidence reinforces your drive to continue. I'm fascinated. It becomes a cycle of progress that intention alone can never create. In the end, ideas are abundant, but execution is rare. The people who change their lives and impact the world aren't those with the best ideas. Fascinated, they're those who act on their ideas relentlessly. Execution doesn't just prove commitment, it shapes identity. You stop being someone who talks about what could be and become someone who makes things happen. Fascinated, because at the end of the day, intention may inspire others to dream, but execution inspires them to believe. Doan builds momentum, and momentum builds mastery. The power of taking action lies not just in completion, fascinated, but in the movement it creates. When you finish something, no matter how small, you set energy in motion. Each completed task adds weight to your sense of progress, pushing you forward toward the next challenge. I'm fascinated. Momentum is what turns small beginnings into major achievements. It's what keeps you going when motivation fades. The act of finishing, even imperfectly, creates the rhythm of progress, and that rhythm eventually leads to mastery. Fascinated. Mastery is not a single moment of brilliance. It's the result of countless repetitions, adjustments, and completed efforts. Every Doan adds a layer of experience and learning that no amount of planning can provide. Fascinated. The first attempt might be clumsy, the second slightly better, and the third smoother still. Over time, this process transforms effort into skill. Each completed project, task, or idea becomes a stepping stone toward greater capability. Fascinated. People who succeed consistently aren't necessarily more talented. They're more committed to finishing what they start. Momentum is built through consistency. It's not about doing something once with perfection. Fascinated. It's about doing it repeatedly until it becomes part of who you are. When you act, you create movement, and that movement fuels motivation. It's a cycle that strengthens itself. The more you do, the more you want to keep doing. Fascinated. Psychologists call this the progress principle. Seeing evidence of progress, even in small amounts, increases our engagement and drive. Finishing a task gives your brain a sense of achievement. Fascinated, releasing energy that propels you into the next step. That's why Doan is so powerful. It keeps the wheel of progress turning. Many people wait for motivation to act, but momentum works, and in the opposite way. Fascinated, motivation doesn't create action. Action creates motivation. Once you start, the process itself becomes energizing. Finishing something gives you proof that you can do it, and that proof builds confidence. Momentum, then, I'm fascinated, becomes a kind of emotional and mental fuel. It pushes you through resistance, through fear, through the temptation to stop. It doesn't make the journey easier, but it makes quitting harder. I'm fascinated. Perfectionism kills momentum because it traps you in endless revision. It convinces you that you can't move forward until everything is flawless. But when you focus on being done rather than being perfect, you keep the momentum alive. Fascinated. You allow learning to happen naturally through action rather than stagnation. Every version completed, every imperfect success adds to your momentum. It's like pushing a heavy wheel, hard at first, but once it's rolling, fascinated, it carries its own force. The secret to mastery is simply keeping that wheel in motion. Mastery comes from time, effort, and repetition, not from instant brilliance. Think about a musician practicing scales or an athlete training daily. I'm fascinated. Their progress isn't dramatic day by day, but over time, their skills evolve into excellence. Each practice session, each completed repetition contributes to their mastery. It's not about one perfect performance. Fascinated, it's about thousands of imperfect ones that built strength, precision, and instinct. The same applies to any field: writing, leading, teaching, creating. Down leads to experience, and experience leads to expertise. I'm fascinated. Momentum also creates resilience. When you build a habit of completion, you develop trust in yourself. You know that even if the next task feels challenging, you have the discipline to finish it. Fascinated. That trust is what keeps you grounded when obstacles arise. People who keep finishing things develop a kind of inner stability. They don't rely on bursts of inspiration. They rely on the power of steady action. Fascinated. Momentum gives them the confidence to keep going because they've proven to themselves that they can. The greatest mistake people make is believing that mastery requires perfection from the start. In reality, fascinated, mastery is the reward for persistence. It's the product of countless moments of doing, some successful, some not, but all valuable. When you complete one thing, you create a bridge to the next, and over time, fascinated, those bridges form a path toward expertise. Momentum doesn't just move you forward, it transforms you. It turns hesitation into habit, effort into excellence, and potential into proof. Every time you finish, fascinated, you reinforce your identity as a doer, not just a dreamer. And as that identity strengthens, mastery becomes inevitable. Because in the end, fascinated, it's not perfection that shapes success, it's the unstoppable force of momentum built by everything you've already done. Fascinated, the principle of done is better than perfect teaches us that action outweighs endless planning and the pursuit of flawlessness. Waiting for perfect conditions or an ideal outcome often leads to stagnation, fear. Fascinated, and missed opportunities. True progress comes from starting, finishing, and learning along the way. Each completed task, no matter how imperfect, builds momentum, provides clarity, and fuels growth. Fascinated, execution transforms ideas into reality, courage replaces hesitation, and iterative effort develops skill and mastery over time. By prioritizing action over perfection, we embrace learning, adaptability, and resilience. Fascinated, this mindset allows us to move forward despite uncertainty, gain confidence through doing, and unlock potential that would remain dormant if we waited for flawless circumstances. In the end, success is not measured by perfection, fascinated, but by progress, persistence, and the willingness to act. Done today sets the foundation for better tomorrow.